outrage and heartbreak about what has already happened in Gaza, what is happening in Gaza, and what Benjamin Netanyahu appears determined to do next in Gaza. The prospect of war crimes being committed in the context of aid and food being prevented from reaching the people who need it has already been raised in the House of Lords, also by David Cameron. Tobias Ellwood, albeit that he is usually a very full-throated supporter of Israel, has recently criticised Benjamin Netanyahu. They kind of all are, to be honest with you. There's no pleasure in being proved right when thousands of people are dying. But the idea that this would reach a point where many people who started in a position of full-throated support will no longer be able to sustain full-throated support seems now to have been reached. The list of people calling upon Netanyahu not to go into Rafah is long and growing. So Ellwood is a supporter of Israel, and the frustration of people who want a ceasefire and yet feel that they're not really allowed to say so without being accused of anti-Semitism, or they're not really able to find any platform from which they can put forward this position with passion and power, or they feel that the massed ranks of the UK media are stacked against them, and they feel that they can't find a way in which to be heard. If they had stopped the traffic on the Strand in the manner of Just Stop Oil, I think I'd be supportive of them. I think I would. But you can't protest outside people's homes, can you? One of my strangest ever experiences on social media came during do you remember those riots when Boris Johnson didn't come back from his holiday? The London riots. Was it 2019? When there were some big riots. It's longer ago than that, isn't it? I forget why they were in the news today. But I remember, I'm rarely completely blindsided by social media reactions. But I tweeted something about don't go out tonight and start nicking stuff or looting, because however angry you are, it's not worth having that sort of black mark on your record. And I got rinsed by considerably younger people than me, whose anger I had completely failed to acknowledge. So, am I missing something here? Are there any circumstances ever? Are the grievances of people desperate for a ceasefire in Gaza so acute that they have the right to congregate outside an MP's home, his private home, his constituency home? I think it's really rank behaviour. But I acknowledge that I could be wrong. I don't think... I mean, who would be in favour? Well, let's find out. You think it's fair enough, but you need to tell me why. And you know how it works. If your arguments are strong and your aim is true, you may change my mind. But I can't currently conceive... 2011, sorry, not 2019. I'm going mad. I can't currently conceive of getting to the end of this hour in a position where I'm fully in favour of protesters turning up outside the home of anyone they don't like the look of. So is this a line that should never be crossed? Or is this an issue so loaded and unique that people feel they have little or no choice but to take extraordinary steps? 0345 6060 973. I mean, and how does it work as well? It's not a world I know much about. How do you find yourself outside Tobias Ellwood's house on a Monday night? I don't want to make a crass joke, like wasn't there anything decent on telly? But is it arrogant of me and contemptuous of me to say you shouldn't be doing that, because what you hear is me saying it's not? I mean, it is a huge deal. You're talking about the deaths of thousands and thousands of innocent people, 17,000 orphans now in Gaza. God knows how many more bodies under the rubble. People who feel a visceral need for a ceasefire, 12,000 dead children. But does that ever translate into the right to stand outside an elected British politician's house and shout forms of abuse? Maybe it does, but you're going to have some good arguments. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. It's 20 minutes.
Into the Snow and Rock car park, and I didn't mean to go in the store, and I didn't mean to buy a ski outfit, but hey ho, that's what I did, and carried on my journey with this ski suit, which was blue with yellow flashes on it and a furry trim on the hood, and then arranged a ski trip a year later because I wasn't strong enough. I'd literally just finished chemotherapy, so I think you have to pace yourself in life and pace yourself when you're having cancer treatment. So I thought in a year's time I'll be strong enough, and me, my mum and the kids went skiing. We've been going skiing ever since, and I wore that outfit, that ski suit, for 15 years. After about 10 years, Lucy in India said, really, you need to stop wearing that suit. Yeah, just one more year, I'll just wear it one more year. Then the next year would come around and they'd say, you really need to stop wearing it. And I'd say, just one more year. Anyway, after 15 years, I've retired it, but it's folded away in my wardrobe, and I came across it at the weekend. I was going to run a long distance race, so I needed to get into a certain part of the wardrobe, and there was my beloved blue ski suit, a little tattered and torn.
Well, I threw it out to our listeners, Natalie, as well, and here's a couple of messages that have come in. I too am undergoing treatment for a diagnosis of stage 4B ovarian cancer. I recently bought a second-hand e-bike, and it has changed my life. Physically I feel better, but more important, mentally it has given me back my freedom. That's Glenys from Gorefield. All the best to you, Glenys. Also Caroline in Totnes in Devon says, my safety place is nature. Growing up in Cumbria with an abusive father, I'd get home after school, jump on my bike and head out to the Eden Valley around me, and it held me, freeing me from fear, and started a landscape design consultancy, which she named after her safe space. Thank you so much for getting in touch. Some people getting in touch with how, an item or clothing or place that they feel is symbolic of their endurance. You just briefly alluded to it there, but it's not just skiing. You have done 3 ultramarathons, 3 triathlons, 6 marathons. You are an extraordinary woman.
I need to be honest and say I've run all those very slowly, so just in case people
But you
think...
did them.
I did them, but I did them very slowly. I do think, I need to not make out that I'm like some super athlete. So I love running. I love running with my friends. I can't actually run on my own, so after about 3 miles on my own, I'm just so bored, and I've come up with 100 reasons to turn back. But if you put me with one of my running buddies, I know I can run 35 miles. We'll stop, we'll admire the view, we'll eat some cream eggs to get some energy, we'll have a lovely time. So I can run 35 miles very slowly, as long as it's somewhere beautiful as well. Those are my requirements. Somewhere beautiful, some friends, and then some high-calorie food.
That's a good recipe for a good run. We have, of course, been hearing a lot about the King recently being diagnosed with cancer, and it's put under the spotlight of the latest report from Cancer Research UK, saying that thousands, this is for England, saying thousands of cancer patients across England face unacceptable waits to be diagnosed and treated. You've worked in the NHS as well as being treated by it. When you see and hear those stories, what goes through your mind?
I think I just really have such compassion for the person who has that weight and for their family members, because the diagnosis will probably, either the actual diagnosis or the potential diagnosis, it is a scary time. It's like waiting to go to be sentenced. So I just feel for people who do have to go through that experience, and the added pressure of the weight. It's that nobody wants a diagnosis of cancer, and to have to wait for it, that just is such additional pressure.
I want to thank you for spending some time with us, Dr. Natalie Yates Bolton. I did see she's also a milliner, but as if she doesn't have enough going on in her life. Thank you so much for making some hats just on the side. Why not? Very good to hear from you, and I know your story will be uplifting for many people that are listening this morning, some of them getting in touch with what is their symbol of endurance, 84844. Here's Linda. She says she's listening to you, Natalie. She says, my husband has had several health issues over the past couple of years, and whenever he has an appointment, I always make sure I wear a ring that belonged to my mother-in-law and my own mother's engagement ring, both on the same finger, and I get comfort in the feeling that both of these strong women are there supporting us. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you so much for your messages. A lot that are coming in on shoplifting as well. Just speaking to our first guest. Here's Leslie. I was a manager at a shop for 12 years. The amount of staff cut on the shop floor makes shoplifting easy. We were only 2 on those shifts, and one of those was on the till. The company knew the volume of abuse. Shrinkage, stock loss, was also part of the bonus package, impossible to reach given the lack of staff and support. So managers were taking the financial loss, not the retailer. I'll bring some more of those, 84844, if you'd like to get in touch. Okay, I want to turn the clock back. 40 years ago, next month, most of the coal miners in the UK went on strike over pit closures and proposed redundancies. That strike lasted a year, and it was one of the most divisive conflicts of a generation. On Sunday, BBC Two is broadcasting the miners' strike, a frontline story, which features personal testimony from 15 men and women that were on the front line of that strike, including Lisa McKenzie, who joins me in studio. Also joining me from County Durham is Heather Woods, who, like Lisa, was very active in the strike. First, I want to bring you a little bit of a BBC News report. This is from May 1984 about the role of women in the strike.
If there was an award for the most kissed man in Barnsley today, there's no doubt about the winner. The women gave Arthur Scargill the pop star treatment, queuing up for him to sign their T-shirts. Mrs. Scargill was there to see things didn't get out of hand, however. She's led the campaign to stop local traders withdrawing credit from strikers' families. Some wives with young families are managing on £25 a week. They say the lost housekeeping and cancelled holidays only...
They're old enough. Not only if they're old enough, you can get over somebody protesting outside your parents' house tonight. How long is it going to take you? Can you imagine the trauma that is right now in Gaza?
Yes, of course I can. I talk about it all the time. I've already talked about it this morning. But how is that, like, helped by terrorising Tobias Elwood's children?
We have to. I think it's the only way. I think the only way that these people are going to listen is if you bring it to their door. That's what I think. I'm not
listen,
violent.
no, yeah, but you can't guarantee that, can you? And violence outside someone's house is a hell of a lot more likely if there's a shouting mob there than if there isn't. Let's say...
I wouldn't advocate violence against anybody in their home or outside.
Verbal violence. Verbal violence, forms of protest.
You see that. I said that at the outset. I don't believe in abusing people in or outside the home anywhere else.
So what can you do? Where's the line? Can it be permanent? Can I stay there forever?
No, but...
Well, how long then?
We need to be there permanently, but we need to let them know that we know. I want you to know on your doorstep.
Well, do it outside Parliament then.
Think about it.
Do it outside Parliament. Do it outside the constituency office.
Outside Parliament is not their office. It's not their home. I want them to know it at their home. I want you to know. I think it's important.
I think I disagree with you very, very strongly, but...
I understand, Dave, but I'm sorry this time.
No, it's fine. It's important to have these conversations. So the scale... Another problem I've got with what you said is that all of your arguments are based upon the horrors of what is currently happening in Gaza, and yet your opening gambit was that anybody should be allowed to protest outside anybody's house. What about absolute nut jobs like anti-vaxxers? Should they be able to go and protest outside the Secretary of State for Health's house?
Anti-vaxxers are dealing with something that isn't an existential. It isn't an existential.
No, they're adamant that it is, Quincy. They're absolutely adamant that it is.
Well. Anti-vaxxers won't be able to demonstrate to me how 124 Palestinians or British.
No, you can't. You can't wriggle. You can't dodge this. You're either in favour of everybody's right to protest outside anybody's house, which are pretty much. Hang on a minute. Those are pretty much the exact words you used when you rang in.
I do, and I still agree to that.
So that includes flat earthers, that includes conspiracy theorists, that includes rampant anti-Semites or Islamophobes.
I'm saying in the case of an urgency like this,
well, then you're qualifying your opening words, and urgency becomes subjective. Should the English Defence League be able to protest outside Diane Abbott's house?
I think the English Defence League should be able to protest any time, anywhere that they like.
So they should be able to protest outside.
Anyway, and by the way, James, Quincy is black. So I've always advocated that everybody should have the right to protest anytime, anywhere.
Well, I find that extraordinary, mate. So you white supremacists protesting outside the homes of black politicians on the grounds that A, they shouldn't be here, and B, they certainly shouldn't be in power. Outside the homes, you don't believe that?
I don't support their view, but I do.
No, I know that, but you don't believe that. You don't believe that there should be 100 people camped outside Diana telling her to go back to Africa. You don't believe that.
That's abusive. That's not my position.
They've accused Tobias Ellwood of supporting genocide. That's abusive.
Am I supporting Tobias Ellwood? Am I saying that he supports genocide?
I don't know what you're saying. You're supporting the people that are outside his house by saying that you support any protest outside anybody's house.
I support any protest outside anybody's house, especially if you're an elected official. Yes.
But you don't support the Ku Klux Klan congregating outside Diane Abbott's house, do you?
Do I? Sorry, I missed that.
You don't support white supremacists congregating outside Sadiq Khan's private home.
I think that they should be able to congregate anywhere they like.
Okay. Well, that is where we categorically disagree. I can see some logic, perhaps, in the argument about the urgency of the situation, but as I think we both realised halfway through that conversation, that's too subjective to be effective, so you have to either be blanket in favour or blanket against. You can't say it's okay sometimes, but it's not okay other times, and I suppose it's to your credit that you didn't try and quibble. You ended up being in favour of white supremacists protesting outside the homes of black politicians, which I find extraordinary. But then I find the protest outside Tobias Ellwood's home extraordinary as well. At 10:31 is the time. What do you reckon? Quincy made some good points, and he made them well. But it can't ever be acceptable to target the private homes of democratically elected politicians in a verbally violent and potentially physically violent way. It's this line here. He was indoors with his sons, Alexander and Oscar. I don't know how old they are. The idea that he's going to suddenly change his view on Benjamin Netanyahu's foreign policy or give his sons a crash course on Palestinian rights as a consequence of these people shouting outside his house and holding up pictures of their dad's face with bloody handprints on it just seems to me to be, to say the least, unlikely. Feels a little inappropriate now to remind you that we're still trying to work out how much a bunch of roses costs on Valentine's Day in central London, but I will reveal the answer to you at some point. 10:32 is the time. Thomas Watts has your headlines.
An Israeli man who was forced to leave a theatre in London has described the moment a comedian turned on him. Soho Theatres apologised after Leavitan was subjected to verbal abuse during Paul Curry's show on Saturday night. Labour's insisted there are always strong checks on would-be MPs. It has suspended a second parliamentary candidate over his alleged remarks about Israel. Official figures show inflation was at 4% in January. That's the same rate as December. Forecasters had expected a slight rise in the Consumer Prices Index. LBC weather, most places mild and quite cloudy. Rain for many later with brighter spells further east, a high of 14 degrees.
Weekdays from 7 a.m.
Call me cynical. I don't believe a word of it.
Straight to the point.
So you say you don't know, do you?
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Wake up. We've heard this all before.
Listen on your radio and Global Player, the official LBC app.
Leave your troubles outside with Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club in London. Be transported to Berlin's Kit Kat Club in this electrifying West End show. Currently starring Jake Shears and Rebecca Lucy Taylor. And with Cara Delevingne and Luke Treadaway taking over from March the 11th. Book your tickets now. And to win the ultimate theatre experience with Cabaret, including 2 tickets, hotel stay, dinner and spending money, head to lbc.co.uk. At Vision Express, breakage and loss protection is included with prescription glasses and sunglasses.
Really? That's helpful.
Yes, available on designer brands from £129. Find out more in store or online at visionexpress.com. Vision Express. Express your vision. Minimum access required. Conditions apply. Ask in store for details.
All the big names are here. Ooh, who's that?
I think she was in the movie about that really big shark.
No, not her. The forest.
She's automating invoices on the go so she can spend more time on that flower wall.
QuickBooks could save you up to 8 hours a week, so you could bring your vision to life. That's how you business differently. Intuit QuickBooks.
At PensionBee, we're helping thousands of people to bring old pensions together into one simple online plan. We have responsible pension options, like our Impact Plan. For the over 55s, we've made withdrawals hassle-free. And everything's online, so you can check on your pension progress anytime you like. We're building a pension company you can believe in. Be pension confident. Download the PensionBee app. When investing, capital is at risk.
At Morrison's, share the love with the best Valentine's dining for two. Get a starter, main, 2 sides, dessert and wine or Prosecco for £15 with your More card. Morrison's to shop at Morrison's. Majority of stores and online, subject to availability. Without More card, in store £17. Ends 14th of Feb. Please drink responsibly.
Here are the words every timeshare owner will be dreading to hear. Your 2024 timeshare maintenance fees are due. If you were missold, mytimeshareclaim.co.uk could help you exit your contract and receive compensation. Since 2015, we've helped timeshare owners claim an average of £18,000 per case. Visit mytimeshareclaim.co.uk or text ASSIST to 78900.